He was going to stop and decided not to stop. And literally listened to the podcast for like 11 to 14
Well, you want to hear
straight.
the end of it. I mean, you can't fall asleep with a will. You've got to hear what happened.
I can't crash right now. I got to stay for the life
I
update.
don't know, these valuable tips.
Welcome back to the Riley Black Project. Crystal and John.
Hey.
How's it going?
Oh, you know.
We got a lot of new toys.
Interesting.
Some you can see, some you can't.
What is happening? Did you just see that? My face just glitched.
Mine did too.
Actually...
Like,
okay.
There or?
There.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if it actually glitched for the recording, but it was a little creepy to look over and see that.
Damn,
especially with the, oh no.
As soon as I hit the intro, like we were talking here for like half.
You called?
Yeah, we're talking about it for like half an hour, no fly. As soon as I hit the music, he's like, oh, that's my cue. Let me fly in. Yeah. So.
Oh, it's your roommate Fly.
Yeah.
Oh, God, he will not leave us alone.
So we have some new toys.
Oh, yeah.
These are new.
Oh, she's talked and we haven't introduced her.
I know.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
We'll
break
get
the
there.
rules. Yeah.
We'll get there. Stan did the same thing last week.
Oh, that's true. He did.
It's fine. It's fine. Then he was like, oh, did I do the wrong thing?
Oh, my God. I forgot that these are newly introduced to the podcast.
If you've seen me on the Real Laser Husbands of Facebook.
They were on there.
It was the official debut.
Yes.
And then that was it. No, during our live.
Yes.
During our live.
Yeah, with the person who's about to come on.
Yeah.
Don't give it away.
Okay, well, so we kind of debuted him there. Not kind of, we did, but this is the first episode with him. And on top of that, we've got some new cameras.
Yeah.
So you should hopefully this show is not entirely a two-shot.
Yeah.
And I still have individual cams.
Right.
But you'll notice that the colors,
yes,
but you'll notice that the colors are the same.
More
before,
consistent.
Mine was different.
Drove me crazy.
I had the different camera, but now all three are the same.
Yeah.
Shout out to Will. He found them on Marketplace.
Of course.
Listen, hey, do you guys want these?
No. No, I sent him.
Send them? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anytime I want some new equipment that's expensive, and especially something that he can ship, I'm like, Will.
Yeah,
help me out. And so he found them within like a week. And got us a good
not
deal.
going to name them just yet because we're trying to still figure out if we like
them.
them.
You didn't?
No, I didn't say what they are.
Yeah. I really like this microphone. I've wanted to buy them.
Same exact microphone.
No, it's just
not. Different color.
Yeah, that's hugely important. Like, look at them. Look how nice they look.
They do look good. And then I did look at the because they also sell the windscreen. That's red for our old ones. It's not the same, and it doesn't. It makes you sound. I saw a lot of reviews that the sound, like it muffles a lot of the sound.
Yeah, that's not good.
It was probably too thick of a foam.
Right.
So I saw these. They weren't really on. They're the same price.
Same price.
They
were more expensive.
Yeah, and well, they're the 50th anniversary edition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so they're not
fancy.
just like red. They're also a limited edition. So. Now
he told me about them, and I have not paid for a purchase faster in a long time.
Yeah,
he was like, "Oh, hey, they're on sale," and I was like, two of them immediately. Here's my card.
Yeah, I'm like, they're normal price.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yep.
And she's like, do you have my card or do you want me to get it for you?
So I got up and got it.
Yeah.
So before we get to the sponsor, just gonna give people a little bit of a warning. We'll talk about it in the life update, but I'm on some medication.
Real medication.
So
not after dark.
It's giving me some similar side effects.
Yeah.
So I'm very tired. I'm a little loopy.
Yeah.
So just bear with me if things get weird towards the end.
Luckily, this isn't heavy machinery.
Right. Yeah. Because I was like, why am I so tired? And then I picked up the bottle and it was like, may cause extreme drowsiness. Oh, okay. Good. Got it.
So you want to talk about that thing?
Sure. We can talk about this.
It's on the set.
Yeah. So this sign,
real quick,
it says, make it happen. But it also says, hold on, anticlimactic. There we go. Make shit happen.
Yep.
So this is part of the course, and I'm using Melody's black LED acrylic from CMB. So it did give me some challenges because I couldn't do the LEDs like I normally do for the whole rest of the course.
Right.
But I pivoted and I ordered 15 different lights on Amazon and found a cool one. And so now when JR's around, it can say that.
Make it happen.
And then when he's not around, it can say that.
You can make shit happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Those are the kind of things you'll learn in the course.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this one. So
LEDs with RBD.
And the course is coming along. We're finally past more than halfway, so that's good. And yeah, we're just trucking along, and hopefully it'll be what?
You tapped my camera.
Sorry.
Remember, it's not clamped down yet. The
I
clamps
just barely
come tomorrow.
touched it.
Yeah, but it moved. No. Just leave it alone. I'll fix it in post. Step away from the camera. Thank you. On with the show. Today's episode is brought to you by
Katie with Monarch Pine. I'm in trouble. So it's awkward. My face is getting red. She's giving everybody 10% off or more if you're a patron for the month of September.
Why? More.
Because patrons get more. We'll say that in a second. Code Riley Black. monarchpine.etsy.com. Now we can talk about more after you say who we have on, and then
you guys guess who we have on. Who do you think we have on? It's Katie with Monarch Pine. Not to be confused with Katie from Monarch Pines.
Pines. Yeah, not Monarch
Not
Pines.
Pine.
Singular pine.
Yes.
Only one tree.
How's it going? Again.
Going wonderfully. How are you? Just over here in the pine grove, not the pines.
Right. So
we had a great live earlier today.
Yeah. No, that was yesterday.
Was that yesterday?
It was yesterday.
It's all running together.
All run together.
It really is.
It's one long day.
So she's been avoiding me for a while to be on the podcast, ducking and dodging.
Almost a year, something like that.
Yeah. And then I saw she was doing more lives, and I was like, I think it's time for me to
turn up the
bring
heat.
it up again.
Yep.
And she had done a couple in-person events, and for introverts, those are a lot.
Yeah.
And so if you can do in-person events, you can do a pre-recorded podcast.
Yep.
So I was like, hey, and then the way the universe works, she was supposed to actually be on next week, but we had a last-minute cancellation or reschedule, I should say.
Yes.
And so I asked her this morning. I was like, "Hey,
stepped up to the plate.
What you doing?
Yeah.
Can you come on the podcast?" And she said yes.
And the timing couldn't be better,
right? Well, and why is that, John?
Hey there, podcast listeners. How great would it feel if this was the year you finally got to escape your 9-to-5 to embrace your lifestyle of creativity and entrepreneurship?
Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, Eon Laser USA invites you to join the Freedom to Create webinar, where you'll learn how to make this a reality.
Join leading laser industry professional and brand ambassador Emily, aka That Mom with a Laser, and Eon Laser USA's sales manager Alicia as they dive into all things Eon.
Learn about the advantages of owning an Eon Laser and get the scoop on Eon's rewards and partner benefits. Plus, get a glimpse at how everyday people who started out with zero experience paid off their lasers, scaled their businesses, and transformed their lifestyles.
So if you're ready for a lifestyle change, head over to eonlaser.us/whyus and sign up for the Freedom to Create webinar today.
Thanks for listening. Laser on.
Welcome to the revolution in laser engraving. Introducing Lens Digital, the creators of the game-changing Pyburn rotary attachment. With the Pyburn 4.0, you can turn ordinary cups, tumblers, glasses, and more into extraordinary masterpieces.
Looking to engrave niche items or want the functionality of a Chuck rotary? Look no further than the Pyburn Grip, Lens Digital's Chuck-style rotary. With a range of different sized jaws, you can easily engrave a wide variety of items. All Lens Digital products are compatible with most CO2 and Galvo lasers and were designed specifically for the laser industry. All that paired with the best-in-class customer support, Lens Digital is your one-stop shop for all of your rotary needs.
Transform your laser engraving game with Lens Digital, where makers succeed. Unleash your creativity today.
And don't forget, we are proud Lens Digital affiliates as well. If you're shopping, code Riley Black will take $50 off any order of $600 or more.
Because she is sponsoring new patrons and two post, well, not post, already
existing
patrons.
Yeah. So unlimited new patrons, the paid levels, of course. So the $4 and up will get $10. There he is.
Yep.
We'll get $10 to her shop. Yeah, and so however many people signs up, and then there's now a little friendly competition between her and Blake.
Yeah.
He got 9.
What's that competition? I was gonna let her say.
Sorry, Katie. What's the competition?
Blake got 9 new patrons last month, and he said that if I can beat him, he'll give away $100 in Great Lakes Laser Supply gift cards. So we're 4 down, 6 to go. A little friendly competition with some trash talking.
Well, and technically, I mean, like, this doesn't count because he still had 9 signups, but 1 did cancel. So if there's a tie, I might, I'm just gonna give that to you to put in your back pocket just in case.
Yeah, but if there's
good information. I'm gonna remember this.
If there's a tie, I feel like we would have to wait to announce a winner until the equal amount of time
has passed.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
So it's really 5 to go, and then I mean, ladies first. So
right, exactly.
I think we should make him pay. Sign up for Patreon.
Yeah.
And I mean, unlimited Monarch Pine gift cards. Make me give away $1,000 in gift cards. It's fine.
Right. Well, and then the even better part is that she then added this was before we even scheduled the podcast. She added a discount that's exclusively for our patrons for the month of September.
Even the new ones that sign up.
Yeah. So
under
like
this promotion.
her normal every episode 10% off, with code Monarch Pine. Well, she gave us an even bigger one for our patrons to sweeten the deal for our existing patrons to get that
she's
extra.
Really trying to make him pay.
She is.
Blake, you're gonna have to pay.
I hope so. So now that we finally got you on, now we get to hear about your story. I honestly don't even think I know it, which is kind of cool because a lot of times
I just came out of the sky, and here I am.
Ta-da!
I appeared.
Because a lot of the people in the industry, if I know them well, a lot of times I know their story because they've been on someone else's podcast or I've seen it, and I may have seen it, but I just didn't retain it if I did see it. But how the heck did you become Monarch Pine? Because you didn't start with laser stuff.
Because I'm really introverted, and this is the first time I've ever done this, so you've not seen it. All right, so I was a middle school English teacher. I taught 6th grade language.
Wow.
And I just sort of got tired of missing my daughter's important events.
That'll do it.
I had to do a lot of different extracurriculars as a teacher, and I thought maybe if my husband and I really, really budget, we can make it work for me to be a stay-at-home mom. So I took a year off from teaching. They let you take a year's leave of absence.
Oh, right.
And I was just going to see, can we balance the budget and I can be a stay-at-home mom?
Right.
And it really didn't work out. Money was really tight. And so I had always loved jewelry, and I decided to see, maybe I could make some jewelry. It could be a side hustle, and we can make ends meet. I was really interested in leather earrings, and I started painting earrings. And I took a purse that was made of leather and cut it up and punched a hole in it and put earring hooks in it. And I was just experimenting with changing my earrings. And I thought, well, maybe I could buy leather and I could make my own earrings and sell them. And I did what is sort of the gateway drug to lasers. I got a Cricut machine.
Yeah.
And I started cutting leather on it. And I was in all these Facebook groups for fans of statement earrings. And I was talking to all of my earring friends, and I was like, do y'all like these? Do you think you would buy them? And they were like, yeah, you should start an Etsy shop for this. And so I did in, I think it was about May 2020, when a lot of us got started at the start of the pandemic.
Right.
And yeah, so one thing led to another, and I became a busy leather earring shop. But when you're making earrings with leather or with laser cut materials, and you have these earring hooks with little bitty loops, you have to do the 2 jump rings to make them face towards the front. And I was trying to find big enough earring hooks that I didn't have to do that. And I realized I'm going to have to get these things made myself if I want to use them.
Right.
And so I start trying to find factories and figure out how to make them. And I'm realizing I'm going to have to make 50,000 or 100,000 of these at once in order to get these earring hooks made. I'm like, well, I can't use 100,000 earring hooks. I wonder if the other earring makers out there would want my extras. And so then in late 2020, I opened a supply shop, really like as a side hustle, because I just really was desperate to have these certain products that I wanted to use.
Right.
And I would basically do anything to make it happen, but it was just more than I could use. So then I opened a supply shop.
The keychain thingies was born a little bit similarly in that I had found them and I had posted and was like, what are these called? And how do I get some? Where do I find them? Because I couldn't find them anywhere.
Yeah.
And then when someone had found them and they were, on Alibaba or wherever, and I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna buy a ton. And then everyone's like, can we jump in on that order? Because when you order from overseas, a lot of times there's like the MOQs and there's a lot of you have to buy 1,000 or 2,000. And someone who makes keychains here and there, they don't need that much, and they don't want to go through the work of finding a trusted seller and all that. And so I did one big order in the beginning, and then the rest was history. The sales have never stopped, and then it escalated into getting different colors and different options and different styles and all the things. And it was never my intention to have a keychain website. It just happened because I wanted them, and then I saw other people wanted them as well, so I started selling them.
Yeah, it's like one thing leads to another. I think a lot of us who are in the laser industry, it was like the side hustle that accidentally turned into our jobs.
Yep, 100%.
So it's kind of amazing. So I started with a Cricut, and then if anyone here has ever used a Cricut to cut leather, you'll know how quickly the blades wear out and how you have to tape the mat and all that stuff. So then I went to a Sizzix die cutting machine, and that was good. But then I got really interested in having little wooden and acrylic connectors with the leather. And so I was buying those from other people, and I'm like, I wonder if I could buy the laser, and to help pay for it, maybe I could make a bunch of extra little connector circles, and maybe other Cricut and Sizzix people who don't have a laser would buy them from me, and I could put that in the supply shop. And so when I started my supply shop, I only had one listing for the earring hooks, and then I had 2 listings and 4 listings, and right now I have 800 or 900 listings. But it really just started with 1 or 2 listings.
That's crazy.
And eventually the supply shop just took off as people liked the materials, and they wanted to come back again and again and told their friends. And now it's like my main gig. You see a lot of the inventory behind me.
Yeah.
And
are those acro bins?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should probably buy stock in those.
And I mean, you and I will understand this, and anyone else who has bought them. That's a lot of money just in bins. Those bins are not cheap, but they're awesome. They're very effective, and they're the best ones I could find. Any of the non-acro bins that I use, I wish they were acro bins.
Yeah, I went through so many storage solutions. I had the things from Walmart that have the 3 drawers in them that you put on the shelf. And then I got the things from Amazon that are the carts with the drawers, and everything you get eventually buckles under the weight of inventory.
Yes.
And these things, you can't destroy them.
You really can't.
No.
Yeah.
Is the wall system also
Acro?
Yeah.
So she has hers on racks, but we have ours actually on the wall.
Ooh.
And
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Those panels are pretty heavy.
They're really
pretty heavy, but they are like
they're
clutch.
amazing. And
so are they like attached to the studs, I guess?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah, but I mean,
I haven't screwed in
yeah, but I think you also did. We might not have been able to do screws on all of it, or studs, but you did the
anchor.
Yeah, the anchor.
So I did
ones.
I looked up for like TV anchors, like to hold the weight.
Yeah,
because I didn't know how much. I knew that the panels were pretty hefty.
They're heavy on their own.
We're also going to be putting on,
heavy inventory.
You don't think about it because 100 pack of thingies doesn't really weigh much.
But when you have 100 of them,
right, and even that is not like a huge amount of weight, but when you have several,
and those bins are kind of heavy themselves, even when they're empty.
Yeah. So I just made sure that the wall anchors that I was using where the stud wasn't there was hefty, and then they do have multiple points of attaching to the wall.
Yeah.
So our wall will be Swiss cheese when we take it down.
It will.
but
That's
yeah,
okay.
it's holding up. It's not. It doesn't. Knock on wood. It's not bowing.
I want to see I want to see like a tour. I want to see a picture. See how this
so
works.
I was just saying. Well, so after the course, everything is like life after the course right now. So after the course, we're gonna do a big like reorganization, and like I'm gonna get rid of stuff that I don't actually use or sell. And organize our inventory. We're gonna add the barcode system. Like we're going ham. So
we did
we should do a YouTube video on it because we've had comments on our storage and stuff.
But
before.
we did a reel of either. I think we were unboxing the pens when we first got in the shipment of pens,
and we got a lot of comments.
And it was in our background. But we can show you.
Yeah.
Attention all laser owners and crafters. Are you tired of spending hours cutting, painting, and assembling laser products? Look no further than Crazy Laser Dad Laser Ready Blanks.
Their high-quality blanks are expertly sourced, tested, and ready to use with your lasers. Say goodbye to the hassle and frustration of time-consuming projects and hello to more time creating and selling.
Plus, with their wide selection of items, you'll surely find the perfect blank for all your customers.
So what are you waiting for? Visit crazylaserdad.com today and take your laser crafting to the next level with their laser ready blanks.
Hey makers, are you trying to grow your laser business but struggle with things like social media, building local business relationships, setting up your website, how to charge for your products, or when to add employees to your business?
Samita and Anuj Patel are passionate about helping other makers build their laser business and realize that each business owner is at a different stage in their journey. Like many of us, they started with a hobby laser at home but have since grown to a warehouse with 7 lasers, a UV printer, and generate 6 figures in sales and ship out over 5,000 orders a year.
Their one-on-one mentoring sessions are perfect for those who have questions and want answers. The hour-long session will be conducted over Zoom and will be recorded so that you have access to it after as well. No question is off the table, and they will give you actionable steps to take your business to the next level. Book your mentoring call at homeboundcustom.com to start growing your business today. So I'll show you that, and I mean I can show you in the meantime, but I definitely plan to do it because even if they're not a supply like distributor or seller, like an actual laser supplier, I could see how like this system, if you sell small stuff or like ornaments or any of those kind of things, David has a really good system, and his is actually like, they're like cardboard boxes, open cardboard, but very similar shape and
the
makeup.
stackable ones. I've seen those.
Yeah, so I think that's mostly what he uses, but I've received compliments from people who saw the stuff in the background who were like, "Oh, that's a good system. Like, where did you get this?" I think Christine actually asked me, and she's like, "Oh, if you don't mind sharing, where did you get those bins?" And I was like, "Of course I don't mind. Like, if it makes your life easier, and like I'll tell everybody. You know, it's not
we don't
proprietary.
hold many we don't hold many secrets.
I mean, it's a bin.
Right, exactly. But yeah. So anyway, back to your your amazing story.
Wait, where was I?
So you were talking about
you just found a supplier for the earrings, and you were looking for other.
well,
Yeah,
you were doing
so
leather stuff, and
I think through a lot of 2021, earrings were still my main thing. I was doing shows and farmers markets and starting to work in like wooden earrings and acrylic earrings with the leather and doing mixed media and just sort of having the supply shop in the background. And then I get into 2022 and a lot more people get interested in it. And just little by little, it became the main thing for me, which I love. I mean, in some ways I miss doing those shows for the earrings and I still want to do it.
Yeah.
But you know, you get stretched so thin that you
It's
just do the
hard.
best that you can do.
Yeah. It's hard to balance it all. I mean, we do so much with the podcast and the courses and all of that and the keychain website and stuff, but like it's still something. I think I need to just do one show and get it out of my system so that I stop thinking about it, because I don't love shows, but I know that they can be profitable. And I just feel like I have to try one with the keychain stuff and sell the actual like keychain like attachments and kind of Bree came up with a good idea of a keychain bar, so similar to a hat bar but with keychains, so kind of probably similar to your make and take, where they can, you know, pick the acrylic pieces, they pick their, you know, their charm that goes with it, and then she said it got a little crazy when it came down to hardware. So I'd probably show them their options for hardware and not like let them touch it, because it's a lot of like little pieces. She said the little hands, like little kids, she was like, like she literally had like a anxiety attack and was like, all right, no keychain bar. And then she's like, she had to put it out, and she was kind of sad that she took it off because it did so well and it was such a huge draw to people. And especially to kids. So yeah, I feel like I need to just do one show here, find an indoor one, get it out of my system.
Indoor is nice. I've done a lot of outdoor, and the wind is a whole factor.
Wind, here, humidity, rain, like heat, like it just, there's so many bugs.
But when the weather cools down here, that 1 or 2 days.
No, 1 or 2 days.
Maybe.
The bugs go down, the humidity goes down.
The rain chance goes down.
Right.
I'd consider it, especially if it's like a Christmas show. If it's like Christmas themed, because I hope no one locally is listening. But we've been to a couple of the shows. And the stuff that we've seen there, like it makes you want to go do a show just because it's not, how do I say this nicely? You know, you just don't say things that are not nice.
If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything.
It makes me want to do it because you know, I don't know how else to say it, but I feel like we could do it better.
Right.
Like we have good items. And a lot of the items were just not necessarily bad, just not my thing at all. And I feel like not a lot of people's thing. But that also could very well mean that our stuff wouldn't sell, because if that stuff sells, if I show up.
Or it's selling because like they only have
option.
Yeah, they only have so many options. There's no like competition.
JR, he really wanted. That was the other thing too. There was a ton of trademark and copyright stuff, and I was like, ugh.
And the police over here was feeling itchy.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, and then JR wanted, he's obsessed with the Miami Dolphins. He knows nothing about them, but he just wants them anytime he sees it.
He just likes it.
And there was a Mary Dolphins. Okay, I'm going to say that's para drogas. There was a Miami Dolphins like stuffed bear with like the logo fabric, and he really wanted it, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, but I couldn't tell him why. Because, like, first of all, we were at the show, so I couldn't say anything.
Yeah,
and I didn't want to tell him why. And then, like, he's a kid, so he's not going to really understand. Right. And, yeah, So, but that's also part of it too, is like there's a lot of that, or a lot of like just I mean older items, which makes sense too because it's a much older
Area.
town and area. But there's a lot of young adults coming into the and a lot of young kids that are like our kids' ages. So I feel like they're kind of missing a market because there wasn't anything for
Us.
that. Yeah.
I think
Basically.
you should do it since you've been to next level. You kind of have the setup and the
True.
displays. You
Yeah.
could totally do it. And there is
Well,
something about getting your product into the end user's hand. You know, and see what are their questions, what are their
exactly. It's
reactions. It might be really insightful for
That's a
you.
very good point. And then I told him, I'm like, okay, besides like time and setup and that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
if I bring my keychain inventory, like if it doesn't do well, and if I use scrap to make like the base, keychains, if I bring my inventory and if it does horrible, all I'm out is my booth fee and time,
That's
and
true.
yes, time is valuable, but if it doesn't work, then I just put the shit back on my inventory shelf
Yeah.
and move on, and I got it out of my system and I don't have
Yeah.
to
I
think
mean,
about
it's
it
just one
anymore.
day and then you'll
Right.
know. You'll know.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. You might know early on sometimes when you're like, oh, cool, there's nobody. And it's a
Now,
million
I'm
degrees.
encouraging you as a person who really needs to do a show this year like that.
Hey,
I
well,
think it
maybe
would
we
be
can
interesting for
force.
me. Like, I want to do an earring show and just show my group, like, this is how I set up. And,
Yes. That
these
too.
are the displays that I used. And this is what I took. And this is what I made.
See, and that's another good angle to use it to
Mhm.
use it for, because then it's not just me trying to make like, oh, physical product money, which doesn't really relate to most of my personal platform.
Yeah.
However, spinning it that way is great, because if it does well for me, and I hate shows and I never really do shows, and like we'd be selling something that no one else had, if it does well for me, I would hopefully have a ton of tips for my customers of like,
Yeah.
hey, have
You'd
you
be like,
thought
this
about
is
a
how you
keychain
can do
bar?
it.
And I mean, I know I did like 3 shows in South Florida. But what always sold well, and this was pre keychain thingies, that was my keychains. I made funny keychains out of my scrap frosted clear acrylic. So it was super
Mhm.
easy. They were 1.5-inch circles, so not big at all. And I did funny like sayings on them. And even if they didn't buy a keychain, it would get them in my shop because it was close to the edge. They would start looking, they would laugh, then they'd look at the rest, then they'd talk. It like was like an icebreaker.
Yeah.
And I sold them for like dirt cheap. It was something like, I don't know, $5 or $3 and 2 for $5, something crazy like that.
Or you could
And
price
especially,
higher.
yeah, oh, definitely. And that was several years ago.
Oh.
But, still, I mean, even if I did like 5 and 10, or like as long as you cover your cost plus a little bit, if you get them in the door and then you have like the extras of like, okay, you can get this like little 1.5-inch circle, for $5, but then you can add on this charm for 5 or 10,
Sure.
or so there's ways, and then like they can upgrade, or they can get a really cheap one, or they can add all the bells and whistles and maybe spend up to $25 on a keychain,
Yeah.
depending on how fancy they get. But I just think
Smart.
the options are endless, and I know that the hat bars do really well.
Mhm.
What else? The wristlet bars I've heard have done well. The wristlets are kind of like they're not as hot anymore. I could take those and sell those for dirt cheap so that I don't have to take them home. That would
I've
be
been doing
nice.
make and takes at trade shows, and a lot of people who have come to my make and take bar have started doing make and take bars when they go home and have been selling a lot. I've got folks
That's
who are
awesome.
like renting their make and take for corporate shows and birthday parties. And
So tell me more
yeah.
about the make and take then. Like like how do you package it? What goes into it? Like pricing, that kind of stuff. Because that's awesome.
So at the Next Level Laser Conference, I decided that I wanted my booth to be really interactive and that I wanted to give something for free to people who came. So I decided to do a make and take earring bar. Folks come in and choose their pattern of acrylic and choose their shape. And then we provided the tools and the earring card and the backs and the hooks and taught them how to use the pliers to assemble the earrings. And when I do this at trade shows, I just do it for free and let people try the product. But yeah, if somebody wants to do that at an event, they might price it as $15 or $18, and you can maybe go through and choose your pendant and your connector and your stud or hook and get to go through the experience of making the earring. And an idea that I had is like, how people will have the like sips and strokes parties where they'll, paint a canvas and drink wine. I was thinking it would be really cool to have a sips and strokes earring party. Like maybe you cut some wooden earrings and have score lines on there. And then I don't know if anyone's done this yet, but I think it would do well. And then you've got like your maybe wine and charcuterie, and you've got your acrylic paints and your little palettes, and people could mix the paint together, just to sort of draw it out and make it longer. Because if you just have, say, an acrylic earring like I'm wearing, and you're just putting a hook in it, that can go pretty quickly.
Right.
But if you have some sort of like more complicated score line, and people
or
are sort of making a little piece of art for their ears.
Right. Or like a mixed media one where maybe it's like acrylic and leather or wood and leather, or, and I was just saying to him, like, or kind of under my breath, like a keychain. So I don't like other people's kids typically. But someone could do a keychain bar for like a kid's party. And then you like cut out all the kids' names. The kids put them together. They don't have to be perfect. They're kids. They don't care. You peel off the 3M for them, so there's no glue. And then like the keychains, especially with keychain thingies, they sound like an infomercial, but they're so easy. A kid could do it because that's
your new tagline.
That's exactly what we said.
Said that in the infomercial. But yes, we should add that to the tagline. That also is another tagline on top of the one that Jeff gave us of "They never go bad."
Yes.
But a kid could make their own keychains, and like when I personally made the keychains for the birthday party that we had for the three of you, for all the boys, and the adults were sad they didn't get a keychain with their name on it. So I feel like it totally would have been a hit to like do that with his friends. Like, hey, do you want to make your keychain? Give them, pieces of acrylic that have their name on them. And, they can either make them layered, or you could just give them like the one piece and they put all the things together. And
that's such a good idea. My daughter's birthday party is this Sunday, and she was just telling me she wanted more activities. And she's in second grade, and second graders are keychain hoarders.
Yes.
My daughter has so many keychains that are connected to each other that they're basically past her knees. I mean, it's a little ridiculous. So what's one more?
He has like 5 of them on his backpack.
Yeah.
And most of them are
I think
ones
my
that I
daughter
made
might
for
have
him.
20, but
Nice. He
I
would
don't
have
have to do
more
this
if
as an activity.
Yeah. Well, I think he would have more if they didn't break, because he's so rough with his backpack.
Yeah.
He literally like throws it around all over the place, so they don't last very long.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, so I mean, he's never sad when I make him another one. I think I asked him the last time when I made one for his birthday, and I was like, "Are you sick of the keychains with your name on it?" He was like, "No," and I was like, "Oh, okay," because like every time he'd have a party, or every time like soccer, I made them for his soccer team, and he was so proud to run over to like his soccer like teammates and be like, "Look, here's a keychain with your name on it." So
he's like, "My mom made it." That's so sweet.
I think he took all the credit because that's how JR is. But that's
So
okay.
he's like, "I made it."
Right.
I don't think he said he made it, but he's like, "Here you go."
Yeah, he didn't say anything about mom. He was just so proud to like give them to people and kind of like show off and like give a gift, which was totally fine with me because listen, all the parents knew that I made them, and I'm pretty sure the kids probably knew that he didn't make them as well. But
that's fair.
You should try it, and even if you
just
like,
if I can get my act together before Sunday, I think I will do it. That's the hardest part. Is
even if it was a few weeks away, like I mean, I did the keychains the night before, if not the day of.
That's
So
night before.
Yeah, The
We do
soccer
everything.
keychains I finished literally 30 minutes before we left for soccer.
Do everything the night before.
I know.
Hey, it gets done. It gets
It
done.
does.
Sometimes.
This is also true. At what point in your journey did you actually buy your first laser? So when was that?
It was less than a year into it. I got a glow
Okay.
forge. I
Escalated
thought,
quickly.
it felt like such a big purchase. I went back and forth on it
yeah.
for months. I just couldn't decide, like, this is so much money. Like,
Yeah.
is this going to be okay? And I was asking my husband, like, are you going to freak out if this thing shows up?
Right.
And so I got a glow forge to make the little connectors and arches and things like that.
Right.
And then somehow I don't have a glow forge now, but I have 4 other lasers.
Whoa. What do you have?
So I have an Eon Mira 9.
Okay.
My glow forge went to glow forge heaven. So I have my big boy CO2. And then my next one was an X2 F1 because I really wanted to get into engraving jewelry. And really, when I started doing leather in the beginning, I knew that I always wanted to engrave metal jewelry, but it just seemed like
unattainable.
you're going to have to get such an expensive machine, you know. And then the F1 comes along and it's more attainable.
Right.
And so then I started selling metal blanks. And then the next one that I got was an EMP 60-watt MOPA.
Nice.
And then after that, I just got in an F1 Ultra. And I haven't played with it yet, but I'm getting there. I'm excited about that because of the enclosure. So now I have like a little family of lasers. I don't have a lot of space, but the F1 and the Fiber and the Ultra, they can all live on the table together. So it's more compact. You can just sort of collect and hoard those. It's fine.
Yeah, that's what we did too. We were joking on the live how when we had Blake on, he said, "How many lasers do you have?" And we're like, "Just one." And he was like, "Just one?" He was like, "What's wrong with you guys?"
No, I think you have at least 3.
Yeah, well, and then now we have 3. So then that was October of last year. And by December, I had a really good Black Friday sale, so I bought the Fiber, and so that we got in December, and then it literally arrived like the day before we left for our like Christmas trip to Colorado at the end of December.
Because we were worried about it arriving while
we were gone. Yeah, because it was like even the Fibers. I'm always surprised by how large they are when they're crated.
Well, and it's terrifying because you don't know where the delivery people are going to leave them. My 60-watt MOPA got left on the road. I mean, this wasn't Eon's fault. This was the fault of the delivery company, I guess. But it's really stressful.
See, exactly. And then even the F1, it's so tiny. The box, I get it because of the packaging and like the, to keep it like so that it doesn't get damaged. But at the same time, I was even surprised how big the box for the little F1 was. And all the stuff that has to come with it. And they do really well at like saving space of like putting things within things so that it doesn't take more space. But yeah, the packaging always makes things so much larger.
Yes, all the like styrofoam and just the cardboard.
Yeah, and so that's part of the reason that we're going to be organizing is so that we can have a better setup of the 3 lasers and potentially others. And I also really want to.
What else are you getting? You're getting a UV printer?
No.
Do you say UV printer?
No, 3D printer. I said
printer.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, Crystal.
No.
Listen,
first off,
I want one,
she
but
barely uses the CO2 first.
I do.
Listen, John, listen.
Secondly, we just don't have the space.
We don't.
Yeah,
so
space is a problem for me.
The UV would have to wait until we
Unless she wants to do away with all of her acrylic.
That's never happening.
Exactly.
No. I need the acrylic to print.
No, I
with the
understand,
UV.
But I'm saying that's the amount of space.
Well, but if you think about it, when we get version 3 studio, and this is gone.
Yeah, then it's not my problem
This
anymore
is
because I
a
don't live here.
prime location for a UV printer. Like, it'd actually be a really cool backdrop. For
I
the
think
UV
so
printer as
too.
well.
And I'm an enabler, so I'm just gonna go with Crystal.
And you can
Sorry,
live
John.
vicariously through
Listen,
me when we get there,
Listen,
right?
I'll no longer be in this space because I'll have my own space. So I'm
Right.
all for it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we definitely can't right now. But I
No.
do want a 3D printer for funsies. My friend Bree prints all of my stuff for me currently. But
Did
I
she
want
do
to print.
the cool skull?
She
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yep.
And she's done a couple of other things for us that have been really fun. So I want to print all the things. It won't actually be like business wise likely
Yeah.
because you almost you have to have several of them to really make any money on it. But I just want to make cool things when they, especially like just our, well, I wouldn't be able to print the ghost we have that will show up next week. That Ryan made us, the big ghost. But there's just a lot of like cute like Halloween decor and stuff like that like, and you know, making
Your
a
cup was
3D.
3D printed, wasn't it?
Yes, I got this on Etsy, but this was 3D printed as well.
Okay, I'm trying to see
And
what that
it's
is.
super, so it's like, there we go.
Okay, I see it.
So it looks like a coffee cup or whatever, and it's like spilling like a red liquid. But that was 3D printed. I mean, you look around our office and there's 3D printed crap everywhere, and like crap that we love. 3D printed stuff, I should say, because it's not crap. So I just know that we would be printing stuff, and honestly, it'd probably be a lot of random toys for the boys, and then I wouldn't care when they break it.
Bunch of cable management stuff for myself.
That too, and like
sounds
because
fun.
I mean, with your laser, even like, when you make those functional things and you're like, oh, this thing broke, I don't know how to replace it or where to get a replacement, or the replacement is like $50 for some stupid like acrylic cut piece, and you're like, hold my beer, I got that, you know. So that's another reason why the 3D printer would be nice. But yeah, so we gotta organize to make room for new stuff. This is true. Sign up for
Exactly.
Patreon so we can afford
Make sure you do
more
the
toys,
pay
please.
tier so that you can get your
Yes.
Monarch Pine gift card and your discount.
Exactly.
I mean,
right.
$4 a month. That's just slightly more than this bottle of water.
There it is.
Right. And it's not even as much as your wine was. Although, I mean, how much was the wine? Was it cheap wine?
Well,
Not $4.
I made my husband go get it for me, so I don't know. But I think it's decent. He asked me if I wanted the like Behringer Moscato. I was like, so I think it's Kendall Jackson Sauvignon Blanc. So,
okay. I mean,
so
it sounds fancy.
probably 16. So I could have been a Patreon 4 times over.
Right.
But I don't have to be because I've been a Patreon since April 2023. So.
Right. And we appreciate it.
All the stuff.
All
the
give
things
us so much freaking support.
Yes.
I just can't even.
Yes. And so many other people as well.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
appreciate
there's a lot of
all the
them.
And then she also just upgraded as well. She was already a patron and then just upgraded her membership. And like Danny, again, you know, he just he made a new tier for himself.
I didn't even see that. That's impressive.
Listen, I need to email Patreon and ask him like how he did it, because it's sorcery. I have no idea how he did
he
it.
sign up for 2 separate memberships or something?
No, it literally told me that Danny upgraded his pledged $50, and I'm like, how? And then he was like, he was only going to do it temporarily, and then to make up the 3 months that he didn't know that it had like lapsed. And I was like, listen, you don't have to do that. Like, it's okay. Right. And he was like, no. Right. Yeah. And then he did that, and then he left it at 50 after the 3 months.
On purpose. He didn't forget about it.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know.
Thanks, Danny.
Yeah. It's
if
just
you're
so
listening
nice.
to this, you definitely should be a Patreon, because I mean, $4 a month to keep this resource and our community going. I mean, think about how, you know, if you work from home, you can feel so lonely and isolated. And then you hear Crystal and John come on the podcast and you're like, I'm not alone. There's all these other people who are doing this. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's just such an easy way to help keep this thing that unites and entertains
Right.
and educates us going.
Yeah, and I mean, if you know, I was gonna say, if we're being real, which we get all the time,
That's all we are.
like kudos about how real we are. But if we're being real, I mean, the podcast is what makes us the least amount of money, and sometimes it takes more money than the things that make more money. Depending on how we look at it, you know? So yes, we record, but then it goes into the pre-recording stuff and finding guests and making sure the guests show up, and then the downloading everything. Like every time after
The
a
space.
podcast,
I just
he
purchased
had to
a
buy
whole bunch
a
of.
Well, the
huge
space,
hard
the
drive.
camera, the editing software.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then you know, every time after we finish a podcast, you know, as soon as we're done, like when the lights are on, the camera's on, we're good. And then as soon as they shut off, I have to run to the bathroom. I'm tired. I'm ready to go to bed. And he has like an hour and a half of downloading to do before he can like comfortably
Before
walk
I'm done.
away. Yeah, before he's done.
Sorry, John.
And then and then he has to edit
It's
throughout
fine.
the week and upload it all, and we do it because we love it, and we have, you know, we're growing, and so we're having, you know, we're always increasing like our ad revenue and adding new ways that sponsors can join, because literally we have people who are like, I want to give you money, but how? You know,
Well,
I have
and to also
create
also making the show like valuable,
right.
Like how, you know, what, because we're not just putting on a show to put on a show. But.
Right. Well, and I mean, it's motivating for us. Honestly, if it wasn't for this podcast, I think I would have quit a long time ago, because
We can't quit.
we really can't quit.
We cannot.
They throw a fit when we take a week or two off.
Right.
I will never forget when I did.
And that was like
When
early on. That was like our
early on.
first
It was
holiday.
our first or second year, and I did a poll in our group. I need to go find it. I did a poll in our group, and I was like, should we like
nope.
What did we say? Something like, should we like record ahead, or should we take a week off? And it was for Christmas.
No,
Like,
well, okay, you can have Christmas.
right? And so everyone, it was an overwhelming no. And I was like, damn, guys, we can't take a break. And they're like, no.
And you know what? With these,
Well,
kind
I
of,
mean,
was
John,
just-
I was telling Crystal that you guys saved my life multiple times this summer. I had this week where I had to drive over 2,000 miles in a week, and a lot of it was late at night. And so I didn't tell myself you have to drive, 4.5 hours tonight. I told myself you're going to do 2.5 episodes from the Riley Black archive. And it just kept me awake, like driving through Nowheresville, South Carolina, North Carolina.
So you're actually not the first one to say that.
Danny said the same thing on heading to Next Level.
Didn't he say like 11 hours or 14
Something
hours?
like that,
He realized he like almost accidentally like drove through. He was going to stop and decided not to stop. And literally listened to the podcast for like 11 to 14
Well, you want to
hours
hear
straight.
the end of it. I mean, you can't fall asleep at the wheel. You've got to hear what happens.
Exactly. I can't crash right now. I gotta stay for the life
Die.
update.
I won't know, these valuable tips.
Exactly.
That's where the good stuff is.
It really is. It is.
So stick around. It's coming up.
Our true followers really listen all the way to the end. It was so funny when we announced the tour, like the loose announcement of the tour, and you could see the people on YouTube who listened through the whole thing, like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh, you listened to the end? And they're like, of course. Because we snuck it in at the end. That's when we sneak in the good stuff, because it's like, if you listen, there might be a little bit of a golden nugget.
Well, I mean, it's like when you go to the movies and you have the after credit scene and then the after credit scene. If you leave when the credits start, I mean, you might miss the preview.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say it's it's like, especially like recently, you're putting in an hour and a half per episode.
Right.
So we give you some nuggets at the end.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we get out as much as you guys get out as well, and maybe even like a little bit more, because we get to talk to them like not recorded, in the beginning and the end, and we get like a little nuggets that they won't like share on air. But we just get those connections, and just hearing people and their amazing, motivating stories. Like when we're having like a rough month, or maybe like sales are low, we were talking about on the live, the J months can be rough, and the J months thankfully weren't too rough for us because it was the conference and stuff this year. But earlier, I think April and May were very slow for us, and it was a little scary and worrisome. And then April and May were slow, and then we had to bulk up inventory for the conference, and it's like,
which is hard.
Oh my God, my account was so low, and it was so nerve-wracking. And so just like hearing people's stories, and like just it's motivating when we need it too. It's not just like for everybody else. And like when we had Kelsey on, and she gave that recommendation for the book, and that book, it's called The Secret, by the way.
It's not a secret.
And it's not a secret. Everyone knows. Most people know about it. But if you haven't read it, I highly recommend reading it or doing the audiobook. I'm actually on my second round of listening to it. And it hasn't quite changed my life, but it has definitely greatly improved a lot of it. Just using those practices and the positive thinking, and how powerful your thoughts are, especially like when it comes to success and business and like positive mind. Because I can tend to be a pessimist sometimes.
Only sometimes.
And not all the time, but so it's helped with that. Like even more so, I woke up with the random injury today, and my 7-year-old goes, "Oh man, it's going to be a bad day." And I was like, "No, shut up." And I was like, "No, it's not. It's going to be a good day. It's fine." And he was like, "Are you still going to take us to school?" And I've been like forcing myself to get out of bed and take them to school, even on days where I don't feel well. And this total, like, you've asked me twice, should I get dressed? Do you need me to go? And both times I was proud of myself, and I said no.
Because the first time you were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm taking them to school because no, I'm going to go." I'm like, "Okay."
I did feel like hot garbage that day,
but you did it.
But I did it. And that's why, like, I didn't want to break my streak. It was like only the second week that I had like started being the one to take them, and I didn't want to already like break it. And I do know that like a lot of times when I don't feel well when I first wake up, by the time 30 minutes to an hour later, I tend to feel maybe not good, but not nearly as bad as when I first woke up. So I was like, it takes them about 30 minutes to drop them off. And I was like, I feel like this is a good test. And your mom comes along a lot of times. So like, if I really felt terrible, I had her to help or get out with them if I needed her to, or whatever. And then I was proud of myself rather than, had I stayed home. And that's why I didn't let you go then that day and today, because, I had the excuse. I had the out. I was not feeling well. Hell, this morning I could barely walk. But then like going and pushing through that, now I've started my day like kind of like, breaking a barrier, like, persevering instead of like staying back. And then now it feels crappy in two ways. I don't feel good, and I didn't, go do the thing. So
it's like you start your day off with a win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been, telling myself. And listen, it's really hard. I think what was it? I think I'm going into my 4th week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so. I think this is 4th.
4th, yeah. And this is coming from peeling myself out of bed at like 9:30 every day, feeling like just crappy, didn't feel good, like just everything hurt. I was congested, just general like bleh. And now I get up which I was awake before. I was still awake when the kids would wake up. I just wasn't like up and dressed and out of the
functional.
house. Exactly. Yeah. And I wouldn't always go back to sleep. Some days I would, but some days I was still up even when he would come back home. But, you know, just going 4 weeks of like pushing through when shit has been hard has then, you know, and then it like falls over into your day. You start your day earlier, you're more productive. But all of that, honestly, if we like, depending on how we spin it, has been podcast and community related. Because, you know, earlier this year and even like late last year and before we moved, the house has helped motivate me some because I want to keep it.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the old house, there were times where I'm like, could I like stop doing like laser stuff? I really did consider like, is this for me? Do I want to keep doing it? And then I would get like a whole bunch of messages, or I get like, I feel like the universe would hear that.
Right. Yeah.
And then I get messages, and then I get tagged on Facebook, and I'm like, I would have to start a new Facebook account.
Well, it's I feel
People
like
would track you down.
Yeah.
Yes, because like it would be nearly impossible to like.
You have those thoughts, but you don't have that feeling.
Right.
Like you
True.
want to keep like I can't see you not doing this.
No.
Maybe not like Riley Black, maybe not for like selling stuff or keychain things, but you're still gonna have like a laser and still gonna be doing stuff.
Well, it's like you get down and you have sort of intrusive thoughts. It doesn't mean that you're going to do it.
Right. But the like what you're really feeling is putting out into the universe. That's why you got all that validation, because your true feelings are, I want to keep doing this. Right. But your mind is like, should I keep going? Like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Are we really making like a difference here? And then it's like, oh, you don't think so? But you really want to do it?
Right.
I'm gonna show you. And then it validates it to keep you going.
Yeah, and I mean, that one podcast that we did where the guest had canceled last minute and I didn't feel like trying to scrounge up, you know, a backup. I was like, you know what, it'll just be us. And then we decided to really say like how things were going for us and how difficult some months were.
Right.
And those are the episodes that I get the most private messages about of like, I feel the same way some months, or there's some really hard times and I've considered walking away, or because the flip side of it, right? Depending on what mind space you're in, seeing the motivating stories can actually do the complete opposite.
Right. Can bury you more.
Because you feel like, oh, why don't I have that? Why can't
like you
I
sort of get
that?
Imposter syndrome.
Exactly.
Right.
And you think, oh, well, why can't that happen for me? And it can, but you first, before you change anything that you do, you have to change your thoughts.
Are you in Mark Collier's Leaders or Readers group?
I don't think I am.
Okay, you need to join it. He's doing this book club that's basically about being encouraged. And the book is Soundtracks is the main title. I can't remember the subtitle. But it's basically about, this just reminds me what you guys have been talking about. It's basically about how the soundtracks that you play in your mind and the way that you talk to yourself impacts, you know, your output, and how you should take like the negative you've been thinking and flip it upside down.
Right.
I don't know. You should check it out. I need to read the book that you mentioned, but you know, mindset is such a powerful thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just
change your attitude, change your altitude.
Yep. Yeah. So I've just been working really, really hard on it because, you know, again, when like things like you start your day and you step out of bed and you have a random injury that you didn't go to bed with, you're like, it kind of puts a damper on your day. But then it's like, oh, okay, is this really going to ruin my day? It's like, will I figure it out? I texted my doctor and I moved on with it. And, you know, it's fine, I'll figure it out. But, you know, it is true that like if you start your day like, oh, and then if you dwell on that, then just you bring more of it to you, and you
find more validation for that initial thought.
How you talk to yourself. I mean, like I have sort of sarcastic, dry sense of humor.
Same.
And you have to be careful that you aren't like turning negativity on yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm very much so not nice to me. And that's one of the things that I started working on was being nicer to me and respecting where I'm at in my journey. And yes, okay, maybe I'm not where I want to be, but if I'm moving in that direction, that's what matters. It doesn't matter, you know, any of that kind of stuff. So
I can
yeah,
be
it's
really
just,
I can be really self-deprecating, but
Mhm.
when I'm talking to a friend and they're talking negatively about themselves, I'm like, hey,
yes.
you know, stop
Stop it.
talking bad about my friend. Like, be nice to
Right.
yourself. But you realize that you have to be a good friend to yourself too.
Well, and that's a good point because like the things that I say to myself, if I saw some like meme of or something that was like, if you would never say that to a friend or someone you love, why the fuck are you saying it to yourself?
Right.
You know, and I would say stuff to myself that I would
You
absolutely never
never
speak
say
out
to another
loud
person.
to anyone else, even if they were an enemy. You know what I mean? And so that like you can't thrive when you're creating that own atmosphere within yourself.
Yeah.
And then it's hard too when sarcastic and the humor, like dry humor and dark humor and sarcasm is like my coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And
Me
so
too.
when something's uncomfortable or
That's where you
whatever,
go.
you joke about it, but you
Right.
even have to be careful with the jokes because like your brain doesn't always know the
That's always know the difference.
Right.
It's sort of like you are what you eat. I don't know. You absorb it.
Right. And then there was one reel that I saw that was really good. And it was like, if you tell yourself, don't think about something, like what's going to happen. And he was like, here, don't think about an elephant. The don't doesn't work. We're all
Right.
thinking about elephants because you brought it up. And so
Right.
you have to be even careful about just like, just because you put a don't or a not or just kidding around it, it's you still said it. You still
You kind of have
put it out
to
there.
replace the whole thought with something different.
Right. Well, and it's like now we're trying it on the kids. Don't jump on the couch. They jump on the couch. So instead you have to say, why don't you go take a walk? Or why don't you go grab this? The redirecting. And it's hard because, especially with the kids, in that moment, it's like, just stop jumping on the fucking couch.
Yeah.
But that's not effective because their brain is like, jump on the couch.
It's going to make them hyper focus.
So, yeah,
And
just.
then you have a little gremlin like we do who looks at you while he does it.
Oh my God, this kid. I'm going to be careful not to touch the. So, like, say I have this.
Thank you.
Right?
I appreciate that.
And I'll be like, hey, don't touch that. Get away from that. He'll do this.
Look you into your soul.
And if
Cat.
Yes, he's totally a cat. And
like how the cat like knocks the water bottle off and just stares into your soul.
He's so much to the point where if you're not looking at him, he'll be like, "Mommy," and you're like, "Are you serious?" Like, he's something. So he tests us. He's going to test this positivity journey. He was the one that I realized you can't tell him don't bite people. Because that day he bit 2 people and he was sent home and
that'll get you kicked out of daycare.
Yeah.
He's gotten suspended twice.
He's been suspended twice and he's 3.
Well, if it's 3 strikes, you're out. He still has another chance.
Well, thankfully the one was at like their sister daycare, so I hope that they don't count. But
he's got 1 more year.
They know that we're trying. That's true. He has to just make it through 1 more year, and then he goes to school, where it's a little bit harder, I think.
It's a little bit harder to get kicked out.
I hope
they get money for it. Well, I guess they get money at daycare too.
But yeah, so I guess to kind of like wrap it up soon, this is a question I haven't asked in a long time, but what would Katie now say to Katie early on?
This is a good question.
Thank you.
Let's see.
I know, sorry, I didn't prepare you for that.
Let me think.
That's the question that needs prepping.
It is.
Of mine.
Sometimes.
So
Yeah.
what would I say to me earlier?
Or
You know,
and
I
then
think I would tell myself to be bolder, to not whisper what I was doing, but to
Right.
be more confident in myself. Like especially when I started the supply shop, I didn't know if people would think like, oh, you're good enough to be a supplier. So I didn't have my name on that second Etsy shop. I didn't have my
Right.
picture.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It is like you get out what you put into it. I
Yeah.
just sort of went with it more mildly.
Yeah.
And then when I went all out and I put my picture and my name and I started posting in my group as myself instead of the
Right.
business, things sort of exploded. You know, I
Yeah.
think sometimes you
Well,
don't
'cause then
have
you
to
turn
wait.
into a person instead of
You
just a
turn into a
business.
human being instead of just
Mhm.
some like vague entity.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, I think sometimes you just have to be like, hey, I'm here at the party and this is what
Right.
I have to offer. You can't wait on someone else to validate you and say,
That's so
you know,
true.
you're good enough to be offering this.
Yeah.
You know, if you know what you have, I think you can
Tell
be
people.
bolder and more confident and
Mhm.
you'll get to your goals a lot faster.
Yeah. That's a really good one. I've noticed this year we've gone way more outside of our comfort zone, and almost always it pays off. If it doesn't necessarily pay off with like money immediately, it pays off with confidence of, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Right.
Like the
Yeah, I
first
think pushing yourself outside your comfort zone makes a big difference because that's where you see growth. Like
Yeah.
even if you screw up, you realize these lessons and you
Right.
figure out what to do next time and you learn
Yeah.
more about the possibilities and opportunity.
Yep.
I think you have to get uncomfortable.
Yeah. What does
You gotta
Steve
get
say?
comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well,
Steve Harvey says it all the time.
Yep.
It's true though.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been pretty uncomfortable this year.
Gotta start getting comfortable with it.
I am actually.
I was
I'm
really
getting there.
uncomfortable to come on this podcast.
Yes,
But
and listen, I am proud of you because you were a tough one. Most other people I could crack. There's a couple others that are just flat out like, you're never gonna get me on there, and I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were one that it was like, come on, Katie.
I'm
I really want you on there.
I'm so shy. I was hoping that with having an internet business that maybe I could go without ever showing my face. And I figured out that wasn't going to work. So I'm like, maybe I could just show a picture sometimes.
Right.
And I'm realizing that doesn't work either.
Right.
Yeah. You seem really extroverted, but when you're introverted, you just really, really overthink. But
so I'm so I used to be more extroverted, and I've actually become more of a introverted extrovert, I guess, or extroverted introvert. I don't know. Like I'm me. Ask him. I mean, going into public places and having to teach in front of people, or
doing
the first networking thing. Oh my God, we went to a networking event, and the first time we went, I refused to speak. Everyone went around, and it was like 10 people. But everyone went around and they introduced themselves and their business and all that. And I was like, no, I'm good. And I didn't speak at all the first time, but then I went a second time and I spoke the second time. And then I spoke every time after that when we were going. But just little things like that. Like, I'll feel okay when someone starts talking to me, or when someone else like breaks the ice somehow. But like, if I'm the one who has to do it, I'm gonna be hiding in the furthest table, the furthest chair, and hope that someone comes to talk to me. But what I'm putting out is, don't come talk to me because I'm nervous and I'm scared. So like,
I had someone at UB Energized. I guess I'm telling on myself. But I was sort of nervous at one of the networking events. I was just kind of quiet and just walking to my different places. And the person was like, "Are you mad at me?" And I had never met this person in my life, but they were like, "I think you gave me like a bad look." And, you know, but it was just that I was shy and wasn't really
Right.
making eye contact. But
Right.
sometimes people can read that shyness as being
Right.
unfriendly.
Yeah, and they don't understand where it's coming from. And like, especially if you have any kind of anxiety like I do, my face is like, don't talk to me. That's the RBF face. It's the panic. It's the get me out of here. Like, it's not a welcoming vibe, but it's only just because I'm nervous for no other
It's sort of
reason.
like I do that too. It's like your eyes are just laser focused to where you're walking.
Yeah, and I'm like, walking through somewhere, and like you kind of want somebody to talk to you, but you kind of don't because you're fearful of it being awkward. And it's like, okay, so what if it's awkward? Like, then you walk away and you move on with your life. But
it's true.
Not what my brain tells me, because then my brain is like, why did you say that? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you say this instead of whatever that was that you said?
Isn't anxiety and overthinking fun? Isn't it great?
Oh, it's the fucking worst. It's the worst. But it, like, the more you practice by doing lives, by doing podcasts, by doing in-person events, the easier it is and the less anxiety and overthinking that happens. It doesn't, I don't know that it'll ever 100% go away, especially if I don't get medicated.
I think it will.
But, and it could. I'm open to that.
You get more comfortable.
More comfortable every single time.
Yeah.
Like, it's less scary. Like the vendor booth, it's less scary. The teaching, all of it gets less scary the more I do it. Hell, I go live all the time now when I'm packing orders, and that would have made me want to throw up. I would take an hour to push the button. Sorry. You need to strap those down.
The clamps come tomorrow.
But I would take an hour to push that button sometimes. Remember in my old office?
Yeah.
It would take, like, I'd have it set up and I just couldn't push it sometimes. Sometimes he had to push the button for me. So
that's interesting. That's probably really relatable for a lot of people to hear. When I've talked a little bit about being nervous about being on video, I've had people message me and they're like, that's how I feel. And I feel like if you can do it, maybe I could do it too.
Yeah.
I have to remind her all the time. You know, we do a weekly podcast.
It's
what, 170 something times now?
Yeah, exactly.
It's different. It's almost 200. It'll be 200 in February. I did the math. Wow. But yeah, so it's different for me for podcasts, especially the in-person podcast at Next Level. That was, oh my God, I was a wreck. It was amazing, but I was a wreck at first because all those eyeballs looking at me. Like right now, it's my clutter and you and him. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's not the same. I know that people are looking and watching after the fact, but I can't see that. I don't know that that's happening. They do it in the privacy of their own home. So it's way different than... And had we not started a podcast, I would have thought the same thing. Like, what do you mean you're nervous? You do a podcast every single week. You talk in front of all these people. Yeah. Totally not the same.
I wasn't super nervous. I was a little like, man, I hope the show goes well. Right. Because like we don't plan.
We don't.
Anything, topics.
We wing it.
We wing it. But I was like, man, I just wanted it to go well, especially with everyone there and stuff like that. But man, once these went, I even told you, I'm like, put on your headphones, put on your earbuds, because once they go in, that chatter of everyone goes away, and we just hear our buttery smooth voices in the mics, and it's like we're back here. Yeah. We're back here. Okay, now this sounds normal.
When I looked at you,
right. Well, at that point, I was able to because I really couldn't hear them.
Right.
And I think the feeling was mutual because I don't think they could hear me either.
Right.
Y'all didn't look nervous, so you hit it well.
That's good. Good. Yeah. The gummy helped.
So I mean, I wasn't really nervous, especially like I said. Once I put these on, it felt like, okay, we're doing this. Yeah. This is cool. I know how to do this. Yeah. But until then, it was like, man, I wasn't nervous that there was so many people there. I was surprised.
You just wanted it to be a good show.
I just wanted it to be a good show.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think got off. There's always tangents, but I think they're good tangents, and it's just like nobody's alone. Right. Just know that.
No, right. Right. And then that's basically the Riley Black Project's why. Is to bring community together. And to, like you said earlier, so you don't feel like whether it's a drive, whether it's a long engrave or something you
Right.
got going on, or just
Your first
designing.
event, your
You
first going live.
You can put
like,
you can put
yeah.
us on and just kind of like, like kind of get you through it,
Yeah.
which is the whole reason we did.
Yeah.
Started it. We mentioned it. We mentioned it every show.
Yes.
But where can people find you in case they
Just
still
in case they still don't know
they're like,
Katie from Monarch
you know,
Pine.
where what's that
Where
site?
am
Where can they
I?
find you?
You can go to monarchpine.etsy.com, and then you can also join my Facebook group, Monarch Pine Craft Supply Insiders. And if you ever have a question about making any kind of jewelry, I would love to help you, whether it's cutting and engraving on your CO2 or engraving or annealing on your fiber. Just reach out. I'm around.
And did you buy that other domain yet? Did you remember to buy it?
I forgot. The ADHD gets me sometimes,
Same.
but
I just remembered, so I won't mention it just in case. But when we're offline, make sure you go.
when I get my
grab that.
phone off this ring light,
Yes,
I do
exactly.
believe I'll go buy that domain.
All right. Cool.
Well, so that she doesn't forget what to remind you, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Thank you for spending way too much time with us.
Thank you for
Between
having me.
yesterday
I
and
really
today.
appreciate it.
Of course.
And you guys stick around for the life update coming up next. And hopefully this camera still works.
Hi.
We're back.
We're back.
You spoke before me.
Sorry.
It's
Did I
okay.
throw you off? Do you want to do it again?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. We're gonna ride this one out because I am tired, and like you said, I have another about hour. Hopefully, with these cameras, it'll take a lot
Ooh,
less. I don't know.
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Because if it's just one file to drag over, it's fine. Because my DSLRs record and say, I'm sorry, am I boring you?
No.
So my DSLR, as I was saying, records on, even though it's one long, it records multiple clips. It breaks it up. So I don't know what these are gonna do. So
Yeah.
we'll find out what they do.
Yeah. I hope it makes it better. And
Yeah.
it's already more streamlined as far as like the
Space.
footprint.
Yeah.
And I actually really like the coloring, like looking at StreamYard and just seeing how the LED lights look and just how clear it looks. The coloring, after we tweaked it a little bit, we had to mess with lighting and stuff.
Well, so I had to go in. I had to go into. I basically had to go and make a manual so I could change the ISO and the shutter speed and everything like that. Stuff that people don't understand. She's got to yawn again because I'm boring her with tech talk.
Stop. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
but I was thinking also too, as you were talking about doing shows and stuff with Katie, we can take these and go live from the show. So if it's kind of like dead or whatever,
yeah.
we can go live, and then I can connect my mics to that, so we can like kind of have like a live
Yeah.
improv and talk, and then you can have like Facebook on your phone, and we can answer stuff
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah, totally.
yeah, I mean these definitely give us more. They have they're supposed to have 6-hour battery life. So
Oh,
then,
yeah, that's good.
yeah, and then they have an app where I can switch between the
that's pretty
cameras.
cool.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and as I get to see, probably after this show, I'll know more or less if we want to keep them, and then I'll mention what cameras they
what
are.
they are.
Yeah, because I mean,
See if we can get an affiliate link.
If I don't like them, well, no, not even that. If I don't,
Yeah.
I don't want to say what they are. And people
True.
go out and buy them,
Right.
and then I'm like, I really didn't like those.
Yeah.
So
That happened to me with the factory meals.
yeah,
And I really liked them. And
Yeah.
that's why I was telling everybody. And then on the podcast, actually, honestly, I noticed, and the podcast and somewhere else, my face seemed rounder, and I was like
'cause of
puffy.
the salts, yeah.
Yeah. And I talked to my nutritionist, and she was like, go get the things and tell me how much sodium it is. And I went through all of the ones that I really liked. And I mean, I think they were all that way.
right.
But they were all like 36-ish percent sodium. And
I knew they weren't like really the best because one, and this is sad to say,
tasted
but
good.
one, they tasted really good,
Right.
and two, I would be hungry like shortly after.
yeah.
And I was like, it's funny how when I didn't really eat lunch, I wouldn't get that hungry that fast.
True. Right.
And I'm like, I think that's the salt, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
when you eat like
Yeah.
salty food, it tricks your mind to keep eating,
Right.
but you don't really fill up and stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I knew they weren't like
Yeah.
the best.
So
but it was lunch.
It was. I am sad to miss the convenience, but now I'm like searching for that next thing where you can kind of control the sodium content a little bit better.
And not break the bank because our bank it's already broken.
It's getting better.
It is getting better. And this
Positivity.
LEDs with RBD.
Gotta buy it. That's why the stuff's on the table.
See that sign? Learn how to make it. It's great. It's beautiful.
But yeah, thanks for hanging in there with me, guys. Yes. I'm on the struggle bus here again. You turn 40 years old, and hell, my body was falling apart before 40. But yeah, I woke up today and my toe really hurt, and I didn't know why. And I was like, I thought it was something I did because the toenails randomly the night before, and I think it was just a coincidence. Because I have apparently what's called reactive arthritis, and it's joint pain either connected to an infection you have somewhere else or had somewhere else. It can even be like previous ones that you like just got over.
That's nice.
So it can just go away, or it can become chronic. I'm going to say it's going to go away.
Yes, positive thinking. The power of positive thinking.
But yeah, the side effect right now is the medicine works, but it works a little bit too well.
Yeah.
And we should probably go.
Yeah, I had to ask her earlier if she snuck off and took a gummy without telling me.
I wish.
Because you were a little loopy there.
Yeah, loopy. Time. I'm not loopy much anymore, but now I'm just exhausted.
Yeah, until you go to bed. Until you go to bed, and then you won't be able to sleep.
That's I'm gonna take my second one. I'm gonna have my little snack, and I'm gonna take my second one so that I can go to bed. And and part of the reason, so I already take it's an anti-inflammatory. I already take an anti-inflammatory, and I took that one before I had heard back from my doctor, and I was feeling relief. And so if I don't take one before bed, I feel like I'm going to wake up and it's going to be a mess. It might be worse or just the same as it was this morning.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
Right? Good old Google. I was like, oh, God, what is going on?
She had me Google the side effects so she didn't create them.
The placebo effect. The placebo effect works both ways.
Right.
I don't want to know what the side effects are because if there's new ones, my brain's going to be like, oh, well, what about that one? Oh, remember when I read that this is a side effect? Guess what just happened? So when I was like loopy, I was like, please go see if that's a side. And it may not be listed as one, but it's definitely one for me because I was off.
I mean, drowsiness and dizziness.
That's true.
I mean,
it kind of goes hand in hand, I guess. But yeah, like I feel the swelling in my foot, so I gotta go.
Yep.
I love you guys sticking through with
all this,
all the things that come with me. But
thank you to all the continued support from patrons, from those that watch on YouTube, and those that listen just on Apple Podcasts regularly.
The files, if you're here, we love you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. It's been another great episode of the Riley Black Project. Crystal and John.
Bye.
Mamie, we're all done.